Welcome back to another great episode, a special episode. You guys seen him a couple weeks ago. We got my main man, Murph Henderson, here with us today. And today we're going to do something a little different, something special, see how this takes off. We're doing a special review of Shane Gillis' Beautiful Dogs, now streaming on the Netflixer. Got my main man Murph here with me today. Murph, how you feeling today?
Man, I'm good. I'm happy it's Friday. I'm happy to be off that day job shit. Happy to be talking family, talking shop with my man. It's good. It was a good day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm happy to have you on here. I was like, I gotta have somebody that know what they talking about. So who other than my main man, Murph Henderson here, everybody. All right, we're gonna review Shane Gillis, Beautiful Dogs. I'm gonna tell him myself here. This is my first time ever seeing Shane Gillis.
Stay off the
Really?
weed.
Yeah.
So what? Okay. So what's your impression?
Well, I saw a clip first, and I think I posted it on the IG, but I don't when I post clips on IG, I really don't be like paying attention. I just post it. I thought well, let me just say this. I really don't I really don't think white comedians are funny all the time. So
My man just went with the heat, the hottest thing he had at first.
But I think it's because like half the time I don't be knowing what they be talking about. I don't kind of like get their sense of humor. So it's not like it's not that they not funny. I just don't be getting it. But he
Yeah.
was like I actually got like what he was talking about, and I don't know his other stuff, so I can only base it off this one. But I thought it was interesting to see a white man. In my opinion, I feel like he was talking about race a lot or
Yeah.
political things a lot, and I ain't never seen it or pay attention enough to realize it. But I think he is. I think he definitely is funny, very funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is probably my second special that I've seen him do. I know he put one out just online. So I don't know if you know I don't know if you remember a couple years ago he was supposed to be a new cast member on SNL, and right before he had been accepted, or like he had got the job, but right before that happened, he was on a podcast, and he made a joke that was a racially charged joke. It wasn't a racist joke, but it was a racial joke, and it was right in the middle of, I think it was the middle of Stop Asian Hate, and the joke that he made, it was just like, nope, we like they canceled him, or they tried to cancel him anyway. So this dude becomes a podcast darling, basically, right? He's like, all right, well, I'm gonna just do stand up, and to me, he said it in his special. He looks like the type of guy that says, all right, let's wait to see the rest of the body cam footage. Like so the things that he says is the perfect package to deliver what I think sometimes is subversive material. You know, I feel like, especially as a guy who very easily could just talk about the regular, for lack of a better term, the regular white comedian stuff. Like it would be very easy to just talk about the very middle of the road, every man. My mom is annoying, my girlfriend's annoying, I'm losing my hair. Like shit. But like it seemed like he was really trying to craft something. He feels like a comic. The other thing I noticed is he slips in and out of impressions and act outs really smoothly. But it's not like he's not one of those dudes that hams it up, where like if he can do a voice, or if he's gonna if he's gonna do an act out, he's not humping the stool. It's like a real quick act out, and then back to like the regular, like, okay, I'm gonna just do my set. But if he needs to slip into an act out, I've seen a lot of people try to do them, and it's like they present it in a way like you're supposed to be more impressed than you are. Like, ooh, I can I can do this voice, so that should be the more impressive part of this joke than how funny this joke is, right?
Yeah,
But all of his act outs and all of his voices seem to be in service of a larger joke. They're not the joke themselves.
yeah. I wasn't expecting him to. I mean, like I said, I've never seen him, but he was very good at act outs and impressions. That was like one of the things I noticed. The first thing I noticed, like my fault. I went too far. How I knew he was gonna be funny was because the song that he came out to.
Bing bang.
I was
Yeah,
like, all right, cool.
yeah,
I'm already got my attention, you know. So like,
yeah. I was surprised at that too. Okay, he came out with that text. I was like, all right, okay. That
yeah.
was wild.
And yeah, okay. So yeah, I said I liked his subtle act outs. Yeah, they were real. They were real subtle. But no, I liked, especially I think at first the kangaroo one. I feel like
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
effortlessly. But when he was started talking about it, I'm like, I paused it. I'm like, dang, this is kind of political a little bit here, or at least talking about one nation versus another. So it made me
yeah,
really pay attention because like I said, I've never seen too many white comics talk about race or political issues. And I always am going to pay attention to a white comic like I feel like every other black comic do when they start talking about black people. Like to see how you craft that, like, you know.
yeah. I mean, to me, that's the mark of a good comic. It's not necessarily that you can talk about black people, but like you, it's easy to take a subject that's already funny and just riff off of a funny subject, right? But it's a lot harder to take a subject that isn't inherently funny. It's actually inherently politically charged, and it makes people not want to have a good time when you bring it up. And to make people laugh at that, like that's a comic. That's an actual comedic skill. So to me, every time I see a comedian do that, where it's like, especially because it appeared to be an audience primarily of white patrons, right? So he really could have just pandered to them the whole time, right? He could have, and I like the fact that he played with that idea, like when he was talking about how when you go abroad, especially when you go to countries in Europe, there are no black people, right? And then for a second he was like, which is, you know what I'm saying? And like he gave the crowd a chance to like to let that part of them out a little bit. And then he, you know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't it be for like, you know what I'm saying? And then he pulled it back like, nah, it was like, I'm fucking around. And it's funny because you can only make that joke if you know secretly some of them are thinking that. That's only funny if everybody knows what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you know they're thinking it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. To me, it was also the callback really got to me.
Yeah, you kept saying that he kept doing a callback. Which one were you talking about when we first
So
talked
the
about
Navy
it?
SEAL one, the so okay, so it was two things. One, he kept bringing up the kangaroo at different times, right? Like he did the kangaroo impression like 3 or 4 times throughout the special, but he also brought up the Navy SEAL that used to date his girl. He like the whole show. Every now and then he'd tag like Navy SEALs or pussies or like this or that, and it was way after he already did the joke. And to me, like to just pepper it, and not even like that was the way that he's going to end it. Not even that was the big closer, but just to be able to work it in effortlessly like that. Like I mean, to me that was a really smooth presentation.
Yeah, I did notice I kept looking for it because when you mentioned it, I kept looking for like a distinct one, but I did notice he kept doing a couple of them. One of the things I liked about it was hold on, watching War on White Clear. Okay. One of the things I noticed was I don't think I noticed till he said it was that how there was a lot of guys in the audience, and I've never seen a show where there's more guys in the audience. And as soon as he said it, I noticed like how the laughs sounded different, and I wondered as a comedian how would I react to that if it was mostly guys in the audience?
What?
Would my cadence change? Would would my joke structure change? You know, I instantly thought about like that. Like, how did he handle that?
Would you do it? Would you do a different set? Like, okay, especially if you were expecting a certain audience. Like,
Yeah,
especially would you change it if it's like, yo, I was really expecting it there to be a lot more women here. The fact that there aren't, like, let's say it's just mostly dude and then a couple of guys and their girlfriends. Do you change? You change your set?
I might change how I say some things. I'm not really sure, but I'm talking about like I feel like he knows that's his audience, but I've never seen somebody have an audience where it's just mainly guys. Like I wasn't expecting that, but I also don't know who he is. But I've never even seen that like a comedian have like just mainly guys as like his audience. Like,
Yeah, he has very baseball bro vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like he has very frat bro, very like most of his friends are guys that would be easy to describe, right? Like guys that you've seen 1,000 of all the time, right? So like it I think he knows that, and the reason I say that is the majority of his popularity comes from podcast appearances, right? Very specific podcast appearances. So if you're not in that atmosphere where you listen to those podcasts, like if you don't listen to Joe Rogan a lot, if you don't listen to the people in that Joe Rogan sort of atmosphere, then you probably have never heard of them. So and to me that's kind of cool though. To me, it's dope that you can become sort of a household name and still not have so many people know who you are. You
oh
know,
yeah, man.
yeah, he's famous enough to be on Netflix, but I bet I'm sure there's plenty of places that he goes that nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, I have like people comments come up to me all the time, be like, you know who such and such is? I'll be like, I have no idea, dog. Like,
Yeah,
if they're not black and like was doing comedy when I was growing up, I probably don't know them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
so like when somebody told me about him, I'm like, bro, I don't know who that is. And then when I seen a lot of people was reviewing, was raving about it, I was like, all right, I gotta check this out. And I did like it. I like finding out new comics. And when I did talk to a white comic about his special, they told me like he is like one of the bros. I guess that's how like white guys talk when they're friends and stuff. He just said like you feel like you're just talking to one of your bros. And they were wondering how he got so far with that cadence, with that just coming off as one of the bros. The only thing I could think of was like, once you get comfortable enough on stage, like it don't really come off as if you're doing comedy anymore.
yeah, yeah. It does sound like you're just talking, but that I will also say that is his cadence in regular conversation, right? And I think it's funny. I was watching when Jon Stewart got the Mark Twain Award, and Dave Chappelle was talking about how when he met him, he was the same guy on stage and off stage. He was talking about how a lot of comedians, especially when you start, you sort of play with a personality, you play with a cadence, you play with a delivery, right? So you try on different hats and different faces for the audience, right? But you're different off stage, and Jon Stewart's not. I would at least say that as far as his on camera, not in front of the microphone stuff, he seems to be the same guy, and I feel like that is what people gravitate to, not necessarily that delivery itself, but when you can tell somebody's being genuine, when you can tell like this is how they actually talk, this isn't really their performance, it feels special, And if you can do that all the time, that's a brand.
Yeah, because some people talk differently on stage and they get off stage. You'd be like, what? Like, oh, why? Your voice
Yeah,
was a little higher.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No,
Whoop.
it's definitely like, and that's the other thing is like it. There are some people who do it, and the that's the joke, that's the bit, right? Like Gilbert Godfrey did that, right? Like that wasn't his real voice. If you ever heard his real voice, it sounded like extra calm, right? But on stage, you're doing that. So it would be, I think it would be disappointing if that wasn't how Shane Gillis talked and he was just doing the bro voice, like just to appease people, right? Like, but then again, I think that would actually be kind of talented if you knew you could do that and you're like, nah, I'm just talking to them in the delivery that I know what they want to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder do these white comics do they run their black jokes in black and like majority black rooms? Like I wonder how they test their stuff out. I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
if you do it in a white room, like okay, it's funny, but like I don't know, I'll be wanting to see them do it like in a black room, like with these jokes, and just see like first of all if they would do it, and then just see like the reaction.
yeah, yeah. You know what? I like I said, I've only seen one other special of his, and he has some racially oriented jokes in that one too. And the black people in the crowd seem to be enjoying it. I thought they were funny, but I do feel like just because black people would laugh at a joke doesn't mean that you could get that off at a comedy club, like a black comedy club or a black movie.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like not black people, niggas. Like say that in front of some niggas. I've never seen
It's
it.
hard to make niggas laugh, period. Like in general.
That's why I want to see it. Like I've never like I can see the glee on white comics' face. Like I'm just talking about here. Like when they do
Yeah,
a black joke in front of a white audience, I'll be like, okay, it worked here.
yeah,
But do that in front of some niggas and let me and then like
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Cause like I do be wanting them to see how we feel, but like I just want to see like how it would work because I see it every time with us. So I just want to
yeah,
see like reverse how we work, you know, if it was reversed. That's all. But I like the fact. I mean, I like the fact when any white comic go up there and tell any black joke, no matter the degree or difficulty of it. But
yeah,
I do wonder, like, how do they know for sure it'll work? Because I couldn't just do like when I do jokes about white people, I can't just say if I do it in a white room it works. I got to do it in front of black people too and see if it, you know, in other races.
yeah, yeah. No, and it's interesting because comedy is one of those things where everybody doesn't have the same challenges. Like to a certain extent, you do, right? To a certain extent, you do have the same challenges, but to me, it also kind of evens out. And I'm not talking about like the opportunities that you get. I'm talking about like when you're on stage, your ability to make people laugh, right? Like there, for example, I've seen uh, a lot of newer comics. They want to talk about sex immediately, right? Because that's what makes people pay attention. But if you can turn it into something that nobody has, not even that nobody has said before, but a perspective that nobody has taken before, that's different. So yeah, when you try it in front of other people, when you try it in front of black people and white people in different audiences or corporate audiences or older audiences, right, where like they don't necessarily rock with the same point of view that you have, right, or different political audiences, that to me is the real challenge. It's like, okay, can you make a room full of white Republicans laugh?
Yeah,
And not
yeah,
like be shucking and jiving, but like do your material, but make them laugh though.
yeah, yeah. That is true. What was your favorite joke?
Um, man, but I think probably it was, and I hate it's weird that this is the joke, but it's probably the mass shooting joke. that's that's probably my favorite one because like if if you can make an audience realize a horrible truth but make them laugh about it anyway, like to me that's hard to pull off.
Yeah,
Because he dragged them all the way with this like America's number one stuff at the beginning. I mean, yeah, it was tongue in cheek, but it was very like, if he had started chanting USA, people would have started chanting USA. Like that's the
yeah,
type
of
of crowd
course.
he was in.
That definitely looked like a chant USA type of crowd.
Yeah, so like given that that's where he was, he could have easily not made that the punchline. Is
Yeah.
that there's no comeback for mass shooting. But I mean, I think there are a couple that are going to grow on me. I mean, the kangaroo is just funny to look at. Like it's like if I saw just a gif of dude like doing a kangaroo, like I'll probably start laughing. So I mean, did you have a favorite joke?
I had 4, man. Okay, the first one I like because I didn't know. I haven't watched it yet. I don't know if I will watch it, but when he was talking about you can watch a whole war on YouTube, and
Oh
then
shit, yeah.
and then he said he's talking about how we kill people, and he was just like clear.
Yo, you know what? I forgot about that one. Yeah. And Officer Bow Wow, that was good shit. Yeah.
I was like, they do that,
That is what
man.
it sounds like though. Yeah. And you know what I like? I like that he was able to take, because it's that same demographic of crowd that we're talking about, right? Like people that would have been, very patriotic. He managed to say, all right, you guys are like me, and I am like the dudes in ISIS. So we're like the dudes in ISIS. Like this is how we would react in war. This is how unprepared we would be, right? And like it was a wild point to make. Like after you spend cause you spend that whole time at the front of the show, like doing the bandwagon stuff that everybody is just going to agree with, right? I mean, yeah, you pepper in a little bit of stuff, but like everybody, it's all things that people would have expected from a Shane Gillis show when they came there, right? And then he threw something in that was like, all right, like when you think about it, it is wild and psychotic that's how we kill people.
It made me want to watch it, like, and I was just like, I didn't even know that exists, and how do you even find it? I
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
yeah. It's disturbing, man. Like I have friends that were in the service, and it's weird. They'll send you like clips, and like they spend a lot of time on YouTube watching that shit, man. It's wild.
and then I like how it seemed like it was crowd work, how he addressed the women in the audience that told him like, listen, I know you just came here because
Your boyfriend saw me on a podcast.
I thought that was fun. That's when I noticed. I was like, oh shoot, there's a lot of dudes there. Like, yeah, I felt the pain. I liked how the Biden Rambo joke. You talk about the little robot vacuum.
Yeah, the Roomba. Yeah. Grandpa Joe is he wanders for real. Yeah. Nah, and it's funny because like that act out, the Rumba act out, is not like it's a very subtle, like you know what I mean? It's so dead on, and his
I think
impressions are so dead on. Like
I think it
his Trump is maybe the most accurate one I've seen.
I think it worked because he went right and then he went left, and I'm like, bro, that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
He just don't know where to go, bro. Like I was cracking up, bro. And then just the whole, like I said, I've never seen him before, so I'm pretty sure he's already done the Trump impersonation. But like that was, like you said, that was by far one of the best ones that I like. Like he sounded just like him, and when he said, "Abu," I swear. I was cracking up, bro. It's like, bro, this shit is hilarious, bro. I was cracking up, man. And then he's talking about the beautiful dogs, and he's like, I wouldn't have cried. I was just like, oh my god, bro. You made me miss Trump, and I would never thought I would say some shit like that.
I mean, yeah, that's the talent is like, especially because I feel like he's one of those people that if he's around or if he sees somebody enough, he can probably do their voice, like to a certain extent, or at least enough where like that's who he's doing.
Bro, like everybody else's impression of Trump fails in comparison to his, man. That was just like the best one, man. That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, he's you know what I am curious because especially because you brought this up, I am curious because yeah, that show was mostly dudes, but like it sounded like that's what he expects at his shows now. Is like that's probably what's going to be there is mostly dudes. So do you think if that becomes your expectation, like that's who you cater to, that's who you expect to be at your shows? Do you think you just start writing for that demographic instead of like do you think your writing changes not because you want to, but just that's who comes to your shows?
I think if you expecting it, I feel like if you was I feel like if you write to the audience, you kind of I'm not saying people can't make it if you write to your audience, but that kind of cripples you as an artist. I would go insane about that. So I think people just kind of be themselves and whoever gravitate. Like
Yeah,
older people tend to like my stuff, which I would never thought, but I don't like dismiss it. It's just be like, okay, it is what it is. Yeah, I think you can kind of just write. Because there was girls there too, but like you said, like a lot of people know who he is, but still a lot of people don't know who he is. So probably by them watching this now, they'll be like, women will be like, "Hey, I'm a fan," and come. So I would like to see actually that dynamic if it changed and it's women now.
yeah,
What would he say now? You know what I'm saying? But seeing that his topics weren't really too much about men do this, women do this, it was mainly about just issues and stuff like that. I think he could bring in pretty much about anybody. But now I would just still be myself for real. That's what got me there. That's what I would do. I think
yeah.
that
No,
I would just drive me crazy to try to like come up with change who I am as a performer just
yeah,
overnight like that for my audience
and
change.
I don't mean even change it on purpose. I just mean like
Yeah.
if you go a certain like okay, I guess I mean like this, right? Like let's say you got booked on a comedy circuit where like it's a very specific type of crowd that you see for like 6 months, right? Like most of like you can pretty much guess like what type of crowd this is going to be because of the type of place that you're going to. Do you think that changes your perspective on writing? Not even because you want to, but it's just every night when you go out there, that's who's in the crowd. Do
Probably
you think that
because Probably because you probably say some stuff you haven't said before because now you got this audience and you feel like it'll work with this type of audience.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I know like when I go to Clintonville, like go to Hanks, I try to say more family oriented stuff because it's family in there. I'm not
yeah,
going, you
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
yeah. So I think, yeah, I do. But I think it would be interesting to see how he like if he puts out a special next year because Trump will actually
be
be on the
running. Yeah,
campaign trail and there's a lot of stuff going on, or will he'll wait till like the following year, which is 2025.
yeah, yeah. That's yo. Speaking of which, like my man is gonna be running while like actively being indicted. That's I think the first time we've ever seen that ever in my life. Like where dude is
Yeah.
actively being chased by the law, running for president, like and might win.
I hope not.
You know what I'm saying?
But I did like the fact that he named it Beautiful Dogs. Because I was like, why is this named? I had to watch it the second time and I finally got it. I was like, oh, it's named after the joke. Because
Yeah,
sometimes I'd be thinking like I feel like if you name the special after your joke, the joke got about it got to kill. Because like I mean, like that's
yeah.
kind of like
Well,
that. That's it's kind of like a music artist putting an album out with their self-titled name on there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, okay, but it's like you put out the album in the name of a single, right? Like like so. But my I would imagine because this is I mean I've clearly never done a special, but I would imagine you run that set for that special everywhere, right?
yeah,
So that you've done this hour so many times that you know what works and what doesn't. So probably if he'd been doing this joke around the world and doing the beautiful dogs bit, I mean, I probably would never name a special until I already knew what how the set went. I
for
can't imagine
sure.
like coming up with a name first and then trying to go do an hour.
What would you give? I ain't got no little. I'll be sometimes I'll be thinking about getting like a cat meowing on here as a track, but I'm like I'm not that weird.
Nah, do it. You should do it. You should do it, man. Make that make that shit happen. That should be done.
um, what?
Do it.
How many? I guess how many out of 5 paws? I guess how many
Mm.
paws would you give? Would you give the special?
I'd say I give it a 4. I give it a 4, maybe a 3.5, right? Because it was good. It was really good. But I feel like when you judge specials, it's not only based on stuff that you've already seen them do, but stuff that you know that they can do, right? So that's the thing about comedy is like the funnier you get, people hold you to that standard of hilarity, right? So like as a comic, you're constantly writing to get funnier and funnier. But once you get that funny, it's like okay, now I have to maintain that. Otherwise, people get disappointed. And I think at that point, you start trying to do what you know will work, and you stay safe to a certain extent. And some of what he did felt safe, right? To me, that was the thing that took away from it from me a little bit. But then again, I'm also not the target audience for this either, So I think I might be looking at it too much from a comic lens and not as an audience member. So like as a comic, I'm like, all right, I I feel like this was a highly skilled performance, but also he could have done a lot more. He could have taken it a lot further.
Okay. Wow. 3 out of 5. All right. I will never do that to you again. I would.
Oh nah, I'm doing that to you every time I see you. Yeah, the more niggas around, the better. I'm doing that shit all the time.
Ah, I would give it a. I would give it I want to give it a 5. I want to give it a 5 because even though I don't understand white comics, I understood this one. like I
I got
so
you.
like I'm like, okay, I'm here with you. You know what I'm saying? Cause like
Yeah.
when I just don't always get their sense of humor when it's like a generic white comic, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like I guess
Okay, but what do you think you don't get about it? Like, what do you think stops you from?
I don't get their sense of humor that like what makes them laugh. Like I just like when it comes from
Yeah.
like a white comics perspective, like when like, okay, like generic, like they're just talking about simple joke writing. Like you could tell this comic probably writes their joke next to a book that tells them how to write jokes. And okay,
Yeah.
here goes boom, here goes the punchline.
Yeah.
Those type of comics, I'll be like, I am not here with you. I hear the laughs, but
Yeah.
I'm not here. I can't connect. But the
Yeah.
ones that are speaking from the heart, like a Taylor Tomlinson or something like that,
Yeah.
I get that. So I understood what he was saying. That's number one. I like the production of it because it doesn't look like it was at a regular theater. I don't know what room that was. Like you could tell they had seats that was that they just put on the floor.
Yeah.
Anytime a comic does that, I feel like either they or Netflix, but they invested their money into this. Like they spent a little bit more extra time in like seeing how this looks and whatnot. And I like his jokes. He's a pretty solid writer for real. Uh, yeah, I'm curious to see. Now I wasn't laughing like the whole time. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I wasn't laughing like the whole time. But he kept me interested just talking about like race or different races, like not like racism or anything like that, but just different
Yeah.
races and political stuff. It just kept my attention and enough for me to laugh 5-10 minutes later. But yeah, I wasn't laughing the whole time, but
Yeah.
it was good enough that it like even when I wasn't laughing, he was like keeping my attention and whatnot. Because there was still some parts where I was like, I don't get what he talking about right here. I had to watch it again.
Yeah. 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 I know what you mean. Like there are definitely some cultural differences where it's difficult to access some comics jokes, and to your point, like that's what I'm saying is like if it's normally hard for you to access it, and normally you don't crack a smile when you hear. So like I by the way, when we remind me to ask you who on the scene you're talking about right now, because like I know you got to be talking about some specific comics that you don't find particularly funny. I gotta know who you're talking.
Who I don't find funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you got the take right now, I want
Oh
to hear.
yeah. No, I ain't gonna do it to him. I told him to his face, but I ain't gonna. I'll tell you.
Oh, you told him like I don't think you're funny. Wow,
Yeah, I told him.
that's wild. Okay,
Yeah,
all
but
right.
I gave him a compliment too, though. I told him that he's one of the hardest working comics in the scene, I think, and because he'll tell a joke and nobody will laugh, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it phase him at all. He just goes into the
Oh,
next joke.
I have like three people in my eye. I'm gonna ask you later on who you talking about.
But
Yeah, I
I
think I
like
know.
it though, man. But that's the thing about comedy though. Like he didn't look like he took offense to it, but like just because I don't get it and I don't find it funny, don't mean
Yeah,
somebody else won't. You know what I'm saying? So even when somebody say you're not funny, you just gotta take it with a grain of salt. You know,
yeah,
like it's just I just simply don't be. I be like, and that made you laugh? Like I just like sometimes I gotta
yeah,
find one, man. It just be some white comics and they be up there and they be killing, and I'll be like, bro, what are you talking about?
yeah. You know what? And that's the thing is like I feel like whenever I see something like that, like okay, to me that's like when I hear music that I don't like screamo, like where people just be screaming in the microphone, like I don't understand why anybody likes it at all. I do not get it at all. I would not like is I don't understand any part of what's enjoyable. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't take skill to make that music. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So like to me when you can make a song that I normally wouldn't like from like in a genre that I normally wouldn't like, and I'm like, okay, I kind of fuck with this. Like this, that's what to me that's what comedy is. It's like, okay, I don't really fuck with your genre like that. I don't really rock with the kind of jokes you normally tell. But that one though, like to me, if you can expand people's palettes with comedy, like that shit is real comedy to me. But I mean, I think I'm still speaking very much as a fan, also though.
I'm gonna
Because
say
I want to be
I'm,
able to do that.
I'm gonna say what you saying. I'm gonna say it how I can understand it. Like if I hear a song that's a different genre than I would normally listen to, although I listen to majority genres except country.
Yeah,
Um, like let's say it's an alternative song. If the if I can rock with the cadence, the
yeah,
beat, how you saying it, I'll be like, okay, I
yeah,
like it. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain white comics that if they got a certain
yeah,
cadence, I'll be like, okay. But then there's someone that are just like or the neatest
yeah.
Oreo cookie you've ever seen, and there's no crumbs, and it's just like I'm not getting it. And this one, for the majority
Yeah,
of it, I
yeah.
got, and I like the subject matter. I think that's what got me interested was the subject matter for sure. Okay, they said yeah, they said he had another one. I gotta check that one out. Is that the one is on the one that you talking about? Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check that one
Yeah,
out,
you should
man.
check it out. It's good. It's funny. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, man. So three, you giving it three, I'm giving it five. So yeah, that's what we're gonna try to do here going forward. Just try to get like some comedy special reviews. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm becoming like a comedy buff, and all I do is comedy, and I don't like it. It feels a little weird, but it is what it is.
I mean, listen. There's a lane for that. There's always a lane for that, especially you know black comics that really want to talk shop and want to get into the craft of comedy, not just talking about. I mean, yeah, who you like and who you don't like is very important. But also talking about what makes a joke funny. What makes a special good. What perspective, what artistic risks that you take that make people want to watch this shit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Bing bang.
Matt, tell people where I said meth. Murph, tell people where they can find you at, bro.
Let's see. I host a Thursday night open mic every single night at Saber Pint on Indianola. I'm also at mics all over the city all the time. So if you are in Columbus or in the Columbus area, more than likely, if there is a microphone where they're doing comedy, I probably will be there.
You heard what he said. He hosts a Thursday night mic every night.
Message.
So be there, okay?
Every
Be there.
Thursday, every Thursday night, every Thursday night. Yes, every time it's Thursday every night, nigga. Yeah.
Hey man, this was a special episode. We don't know if we're gonna do this again, but just for this one, be sure to check out Shane Gillis, Beautiful Dogs. Not like seeing this is gonna take us from 2 million people watching it to 8 million. But hey, check it out. Let us know what you think at our IG page at Comedians of Bed Podcast. We'll see you guys on Tuesday.